Hi, my name is Nathaniel Simmons, and I'll be doing the first negative. And I'll be advocating that water restrictions should not apply to commercial users as they are to residential users. First of all, I will reply to his comments about citizens are restricted heavily. Bottling companies like Nestle and then agriculture use a lot of water. For the first point, citizens are restricted heavily. Water rights in California operate on a seniority system, and in times of drought, the junior rights holders have to cut back first because water is very important to agriculture. You can't grow plants without it, and there's no way to cut back on it. Also, for citizens, 50% of their water bill is used towards landscaping, which is not, no one needs that. Lawns shouldn't be growing in a desert area like Southern California. Also, and Paul Roger from the San Jose Mercury News says, there are things like differences in yard sizes, but quite frankly, this is something most people don't want to admit. If you are in a wealthier community, people tend to use more water because it is inexpensive for them. So, if people in wealthy communities use more water because they don't care about how much the expense is to them because they can afford it, which leaves people that can't afford water in a bind because now they have to be restricted also, even though they won't have a yard, and the restrictions will apply heavier to them because they use less water. And in a survey by Chris Clark from CET News, the use of water varies widely depending on where you are in California. San Franciscans averaged about 96 gallons per person per day in 2014, while Palm Springs residents use an average of 736 gallons per person. So the places where water is restricted, the places where depend also, because some places are hotter than others, especially by the coast. The water restrictions won't deal that much damage because they're by the coast and they get rain, but more in the Central Valley where water is scarce, the burden will be heavily on those citizens. As for the second claim about bottling companies, especially Nestle, even though their permit expired 20-some, 30-some years ago, they still follow all the rules and they're still allowed to bottle there because they do give reports to the forest people. All the complaints about Nestle are mostly just speculation and not about the data. And by data by Liam Kelly from Triple Pundit News, Nestle has responded with data suggesting the bottling plant only uses less than 0.02%, which is about 0.0016% of the city's total water demand. Nestle has a point when it states that its water consumption is a relative drop compared to the need for the whole city. So even though Nestle still bottles water and uses the city's water to use it, they still have to pay the city for it, and their water take is nothing compared to how much water all the city needs. Also from Anthony Curry from Reuters News, the Swiss firm drew 50 million gallons from Sacramento sources last year. Less than 0.5% of the Sacramento suburban water restricted total production. That's hardly draining aquifers and rivers dry, but during a scarce drought, any use of water to turn a profit risks being perceived as out of touch. So all the people that are against Nestle and bottling companies are just saying this now because now that we're in a drought and they want to blame someone because now they have to take restrictions for themselves and they just want to point the blame someone. As for the third point about agriculture, agriculture does use 80% of water, but that water is needed, especially since especially in the Central Valley, it produces half the fruits and vegetables used in the U.S. Farmers don't need these restrictions already because the drought has already been hitting them. Farmers are barred from drawing from surface water, which would lead them to groundwater, and overdrawing from this groundwater comes with a lot of environmental risk, like the land will start to sink a little, causing structures to become unstable. Also, from Governor Brown's restrictions, from Anna North, from New York Times, state officials said that farms were subject to their own restrictions. Thursday's curtailment is one, another is reduction in deliveries from the state and federal water projects. So farmers are already being restricted in water because there's less water to give, so the water companies are giving already less to them. So more restriction on them would just kick them while they're down. From Julie Leary from Mother Jones News, growers who use water from the Central Valley Water Project are only receiving 20% of their allocated water, and farmers of the State Water Project aren't receiving any at all. So farmers, even though they have no restrictions on them, the drought is already hitting them hard, and it will be harder for them as the drought continues. Also from Adam from the New York Times also says, state officials noted that many farms had already seen a cutback in their water allocations because of the drought, and about 17,000 are already out of work because of this drought without the restrictions. So the cutbacks in residential are needed, and using the same restrictions on the commercial water will be devastating to the agriculture business. So, thank you.